So do you think that influenced your reasoning to go with a franchise?
Yeah, part of it was that I liked my full-time job. I didn't want to leave it, and I didn't want to go devote all my time to building a business.
Well, that would have sank you.
Yeah.
You would have needed a lot of reserves.
Yes.
To wait for that one business to pick up enough to cover your nut.
Yeah. And
so that was smart.
3 kids at that point, there's no way I could risk that. Not that this wasn't a risk, but
well, it was a risk, but it was calculated.
Yes, yeah, methodical, strategic, just like we said. Yeah,
which is very important.
Yeah,
which when we talk about college, and a lot of guys say, forget college, just jump right into business. You'll figure it all out on the way. Mm-hmm. You know, that's okay for solo entrepreneurs. That's okay for guys that they don't have a huge startup cost. Right. They're right in the beginning, right? No. But when you go to venture into something bigger, it needs to be methodical. Welcome back to another episode of Kingdom Heirs, where faith meets business, inspiring the kingdom-minded entrepreneur. I'm your host, James Matalone, and thank you for joining us today. If you would, take a minute, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. That way we can see our viewer count growing, our subscriber count growing. Without you, we're doing it for ourselves. So we appreciate you guys getting there with us. I think we've hit about 17,000 subscribers at this point. So we've hit a year with Kingdom Heirs. So we're grateful to continue to be doing this. And today I have Andrew Mason with us. And thank you for being here, Andrew.
Of course,
Andrew is the owner of Pelican Snowball.
Yep.
Here you've started a local franchise of Pelican Snowballs.
Yes, sir.
Right? It's based out of, is it North Carolina?
North Carolina, yes, sir.
And they're a little far from home.
They are, and actually they're going through a lot right now with the hurricanes going up there, so we're praying for them.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so this is a big deal. You opened your location here last year?
March 5th of this year.
Of this year. Yep. Yeah, so you guys hit the 6-month mark.
We are. Yeah, we just did.
Yeah. This is fantastic. Yeah. So you and I met, I guess in February or January.
January, when I came to try to rent some space from you.
Oh, from me, yeah. I'm that guy. Yeah, and I appreciate you coming.
Of course.
We were waiting for you. I think I told you we were waiting for you to have this beautiful corner unit.
Yeah, it's a perfect corner.
It is a perfect corner. It really is.
I couldn't believe it was there when I got there.
It was waiting for you. Yeah. A lot of people had talked to me about that spot in the London Square Plaza. Yeah. It sat open for about a year and a half. Yeah. And when you showed up, I said, just lease it to them. Let's go. Let's make it happen. Yeah. So you and your wife have been married 14 years.
Yes.
Right? You've got 3 children, 2 boys and a girl, and you have another little girl on the way.
Little girl on the way, yep.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
That's 4. That's a great that's a great number. You're a Corpus Christi native.
I am, yes.
Okay, so you're from here, but you lived away for a time.
I did. I grew up in the 78415 area, and then I moved out to Odom and lived with my grandparents for high school, and graduated from there in 2004.
Okay, yeah. So you then pursued. Did you pursue college or career right away out of high school?
Right out of high school, I went straight to Texas A&M University, Kingsville, just down the road.
Okay.
And
the Javelinas.
Graduated, yes, yep, Javelinas, and I graduated my 4-year degree in about 5.5.
It's not a race.
Yeah, mechanical engineering.
It's not a race.
No, there was no race.
So you're a 5-year senior.
For sure.
5th-year senior.
Yeah. And as soon as I got out of there, I was blessed to get a job there at the base, working as a maintenance engineer. For a contractor there. Then
this is NASCAD, the naval base.
So our organization supports CCAD. So we are an organization based out of Huntsville, Alabama.
Okay.
And so it's called CC DevCom, Combat Capabilities Development Command.
There's that base. A lot of people don't know, but it's one of the largest employers in our community.
Oh, yes, I believe it.
There's over 5,000 people there a day on base.
Yep.
Más o menos.
I can tell when I try to get into those gates.
Yeah, it's pretty intense. Yeah. It's a heavy fortified place getting in and out. Yeah,
it is.
And so you went into mechanical engineer pathway. Was that your pathway as a kid? You're like, hey, I just want to be an engineer.
No, actually,
that's what I want to do.
That's a really good question. So in high school, I wanted to be a game warden, and I was
a game warden.
A game warden. Yeah, I wanted to be a state game warden.
You wanted to go catch people or fish without a license.
That's exactly what I wanted to do.
I do that sometimes.
Fish without a license or go catch people.
I go. My son, I put the fishing pole in my. I put the pole is in his hand. I take my son fishing.
Oh, okay.
Who's 5?
Yeah, gotcha.
So
without a license.
Well, is he old enough to have a license?
No, I'm talking about you.
I let my son fish.
Okay, gotcha. That's fair. So yeah, that's where I wanted to go. I started out at Kingsville with under the criminology program. I really despised writing. I didn't like turning in papers, for psychology, for sociology. Hopefully my old professor doesn't see this, but yeah, that was one of the things I just didn't like. And I saw some friends over there doing their engineering homework. I said, yeah, that's cool. I'm good at math. Why am I not doing something like that?
Right. So
that's the next day I went to the dean's office of the engineering school and I said, hey, I want to transfer. They said, why do you want to transfer? You have a 4.0. And this was, the second semester in college. And so I had gotten through the first and pretty much the second semester.
Which is why you're a fifth-year senior.
Exactly.
Which is why.
Yes.
That makes sense.
So there's an explanation there.
Yeah. Okay, that's good.
Yeah. So that's how that happened. I became a mechanical engineering major. Did pretty well my first 2 years on that side. The senior year was tough. I managed to fail a class, but we recovered from it.
That's good.
Yeah, did a lot of other things other than schoolwork and homework like I should have been. But
right.
I think that's a lot of college students.
It is. You're right.
Yeah.
So you wound up getting a good job at the base.
So actually, yeah, my senior year, I was interning here at the base, and as soon as I got out, the contractor there picked me up. So I worked there for 2.5 years, and then I decided I wanted to make more money and go to the oil field, and so I went to the oil field.
They lured you in.
They did.
They lured you in,
and that was the 2012 time frame.
Oh my God, the boom.
Yeah,
that was Eagle Ford.
Yes, yeah, Eagle Ford Shell.
Three Rivers.
Yep. Yeah,
wow.
They couldn't get enough engineers, enough.
There weren't men here in town to work in the city.
Right.
They all were out there.
Yes, right.
Thousands of them out there.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, pulling oil out of the ground like.
Yeah, I was on the fracking end, so I was a frack engineer for 2.5 years there for Halliburton.
Mm-hmm.
That was about the time my wife was pregnant with our second kid, and I was driving 3 hours to work, 3 hours back after. On the each end of a 12-hour shift.
Yeah.
So
wow.
I said, yeah, I was falling asleep on the road, and I said, this is too much. I'm going to be.
The oil field is not for married men.
No.
It's for single guys that are in their early 20s.
Yep.
Go make your cash, stack it up, and get out.
Yeah.
It's really not for married. It's not for married guys, in my opinion. It's not. It's not structured that way.
Now that I've been there, I wouldn't have thought that otherwise. But now,
because the cash lures people in.
Yes.
It just does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it did. Yeah. And so I made that decision at that point. I said, I'm going to kill myself on the road somewhere. And actually, we did lose an engineer on the road. She fell asleep, veered over.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah,
wow.
She eventually passed away from her injuries.
Wow.
So of course that was another wake up call. It was maybe a couple months later that I ended up coming back. I had one of my mentors there named Don Duran. Shout out to Don. He was still there when I was ready to come back, and he said, of course we'll hire you back. That's no question.
Come on.
So I came. We met him in San Antonio. Actually, we ended up moving to San Antonio before I quit the oil field. So met him
because it was a little closer in San Antonio.
Had some lunch.
Yeah, less drive.
Halliburton moved us out there. So met him out there for lunch. He said, yeah, no problem. I can get you in. You're in. I'm the boss, and I make the decision, so you're in.
Nice.
So, all right, cool. And I still talk to him to this day. He's retired from that office a long time ago. But I just met him last weekend actually.
Isn't it nice when we can still recall the guys that really took us in and say, man, we got you, come on back.
Yeah,
we really appreciate those guys.
Yeah, spiritual leader as well. He's just a great guy, great family, great kids, great wife. So something to be modeled for sure. And then I was back there, worked there for the contractor another year before the government picked me up. So now I'm no longer a dirty, rotten contractor.
Now
I work for the government.
Now you work for the government.
So,
well, we have our own feelings about people working.
I
never mind.
I
didn't say that out loud. I'm just teasing.
I gotcha. No, I do too. Then after.
So you're in a good career path.
I mean, I love my job.
Were you in California for a little while?
I was. So
what brought you out to California?
Yeah, the organization that I was working for, they had a hiring freeze, the 2018-19 timeframe, and I was a term employee at that point. So I hired on as a 3-year term, and then at the end of that 3 years, ideally you'd get picked up as a permanent employee. Our director at the time said, nope, sorry, not hiring. Our organization had overhired in those previous years, and I was the first one of those overhires. So
Cut.
he said, yeah, he says, we don't have anything for you. You can apply for the contractor, and we'll pick you back up when we're hiring again, or you can go look for another job. And that was the only options at that time. So yeah, that was fine. It was okay, cool. Let's go see what else is out there. And I had one of my customers while I was working there was the Air Force. And so they offered me a job verbally. They said, hey, you want to come out here to Warner Robins, Georgia? I don't know if you've ever been out there. There's not a whole lot. Warner Robins Air Force Base. And
a lot of trees in Georgia.
Yeah.
A lot of forest.
Yeah, we need some people working here, we're about to pick up the Whiskey Model 60 program. So we can use some help. I said, yeah, let's go. So they interviewed me. Actually, my boss was gracious enough to get me down there for an interview. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that. But, yeah, we interviewed down there, and they said, yeah, whenever you can get up here, you start. Of course.
That was for Air Force.
That was for the Air Force, yep. So I work for the Army now and have been. And then, in true government fashion, they took way too long to get me any paperwork. The official
employment paperwork.
Yes, the official offer.
Yeah.
So in that time, the customer in California was paying for an engineer to be there, but there was no engineer there. So all
which
that
was
money
supposed to be
piling
you.
Up. Well, it was a California job that they couldn't fill.
Got it.
In Fresno, nobody wants to go to Fresno because the cost of living, allegedly, the cost of living is a lot lower, but the government, they call it COLA, cost of living allowance, isn't nearly as high as it would be in any other part of California.
Got it.
So they have trouble filling those spots, and they said the thing sat open for 6 months. And so my boss approached me, or one of the boss of that division approached me. He said, hey, this money's been sitting here. What if we pay for you to go? And I said, okay.
Pay. Let's go.
And the idea there was that if I stay with the organization, I could come back to Corpus still with the same organization. If I went off to the Air Force, I was lost.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you're off their radar.
Right. So, doing a good job for them, for the customer out there in the field, I think that helped for me to get back. And that was my plan originally, getting back. Now, there was a little bit of a detour there that we thought for a little bit we were going to stay in California. It was a really nice area. Clovis, California was great. And, that's where I, fell in love with the church and started, being really a big part of the church.
That's awesome.
Pastor Otis Ledbetter, look him up. He's got some really good books, actually. I'll bring you one.
Yeah, that's good.
Or two.
Yeah.
Yeah. Otis Ledbetter out there. Fell in love with that church and stuck around. And I was only planning on staying 2 years. My contract, my physical, actually what I was legally bound to stay was 1 year. But I knew that if I stayed 1 year and I tried to get back over here, they were going to,
Not ready yet. Yeah.
Yeah. So my plan was to stay 2 years. Of course, COVID hit right about that time.
Yeah.
And
now the goal is to stay employed.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Just stay employed.
Yeah. And so that was a weird time. Of course, I was working a lot from home. But, we managed to get back home eventually. And
what
it
was
ended up
that?
being 4.5 years.
Let me ask you that question. You started working from home more, and by then your kids are how old? Because your boys are
5, 6, and 7.
Yeah.
About, yeah.
So at this point, you're home and you're with your kids.
Yes. Yep. I was.
That's a big deal.
That was hard. It was hard, and there was some perks, and it was difficult at times too.
Yeah.
So in that little house, I didn't have California housing is so expensive
and so tiny.
Yeah. I didn't have an office, so we had this big desk set up against our wall, and that's where I was. Had my computer, and I just sat and did my work. And there was no differentiation. So eventually, I had to move my computer to the bedroom, which my wife didn't like. But
of course,
she wanted us to be able to differentiate. Dad's working and Dad's home to play.
Yeah.
And so that's how we solved that. And that was probably about the time I started going to this anyway. So,
there's it's the bonding time.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. And so your boys and your little girl are like, Daddy's home. I want to bond with Daddy.
Yeah.
I want to connect with Daddy.
Yeah.
So the working from home is not easy.
No,
especially with young kids. You're like, man, because I just want to play with my kids.
Yeah.
And that whole idea of like, well, I'm gonna push my kid off.
It hurts.
And it's like,
it really hurts.
It does hurt. Yeah. It's like I was trying to leave earlier before I came here to the studio, and And my kids are like, Daddy, you're home. And Megan made me a sandwich, and I picked the sandwich. I said, thank you so much. I got to go. And Daddy, stay. I want to hang out with you, Daddy, and tell you about my day. And I'm like, and I want to do that.
Of course.
But I got to go.
Yeah.
And it feels bad when I'm pulling away. And they're like looking back at me like, Daddy doesn't want to be home. I'm like, no, I do want to be home. Yeah. I just got to go. Yeah. It's just, but to that point that I'm making is, that I'm thinking about in my mind is like, you guys just come back to court and you have a kind of a game plan for your family. It's kind of like having a vision for your family. You're kind of like mapping out
exactly
a vision for your, what does that look like? What kind of transpired there?
Yeah.
Because then it also started with, you got a good government job going, you got a good gig going on, and you're like, start my own business? What's that about?
Yeah, and I get a lot of confused looks when I tell them,
why would you do that?
This is what I do in the daytime. This is what I do after work. But
what's that look like?
So when we were in California, Clovis, California, it was the only Pelicans snowballs in that town in all of the state of California at the time. Now there's 4, I think, in the Central Valley area. But at that time when we made that plan, there was only 1. And I sat out, of course, it was our hangout. We took our kids out there all the time, and we loved it. I sat back, watched all the people go through there, and knew how much I paid for mine. So, of course, doing the math, I said, man, there's got to be some money in this. If these guys have been here for a while, and I couldn't believe that there was nobody else around them. But it was in the works, as I just didn't know it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we kind of looked into that, called the franchise sales guy, and he talked to us, and we didn't end up moving because our plan was, we told him our plan, hey, we're going to move back to Texas in the next 6 months. Of course, it was another year after that, but that was our plan, was to come back to Texas, open up a franchise. Of course, we wanted to buy land, so we moved out to San Pat area, and we got 5.5 acres, and we wanted to be able to raise our kids. Of course, they're homeschooled, so we keep them out and out away from the city, away from all the drama and everything else. So we'd be able to raise them up, teach them how to handle animals and care for chickens and goats and dogs and
all of that.
And they do it all. Yeah, and they do a
and
pretty good
I'm
job
sure they love it all.
And they love it.
Yeah.
Yep. And then we said, okay, so we took the money that we got from our house sale. We took half of it, put it into the new house, and half of it into the business. And it turns out that the whole being out there in the middle of nowhere forever or all the time isn't really working out that way, because my wife's always here working for Pelicans.
Isn't that interesting?
For now.
Well, because you're getting something off the ground.
Yes, and that, everything I've ever read about business is the first 2 years are the most difficult, and you got to put your blood, sweat, and tears into it. And yeah, we've done that. Yeah, there's
you're doing
no
it.
lack of blood, sweat, and tears.
No, you're doing it. But why start a business?
So I've always been entrepreneur minded. Yeah, my mom tells me all the time that I used to go sell paper airplanes down the street, house to house, door to door.
Did you wait a minute? Did you sell them the piece of paper, or did you sell them the folded?
No, I actually did the labor.
Did you sell them the vision?
I sold them.
This is a paper airplane, $5, and you can have it. Or did you actually make the airplane?
I made the airplane.
Okay, all right.
I made all kinds of cool designs, and I sell them for $0.25. Always went to school trying to sell candy bars and stuff.
Absolutely, man. I'm the same boat with you.
I feel like almost cliche saying that, but it
it's
really
true.
Is.
Well, because that's where it starts.
Yeah. So I've always had that mind, and my friends at work used to make fun of me because I was always trying to help my insurance agent friend sell insurance, or my sister who's a real estate agent. Shout out April Mason, real estate.
Come on.
Sorry.
No, it's good. Come on.
And then and my friends were always giving me a hard time. Why are you always trying to sell something to me? Like, why can't you just be my friend?
Well, because you are my friend, but you have a need, and I have what you need.
I know you're buying a house soon. She can help you. Yeah, I know you need insurance.
The power of networking.
Yeah. Oh,
we need friends like you.
Yeah, that's right.
We need lots of friends like Andrew.
Yeah.
That's the only way we can make it. We need each other.
Yeah.
To help us out.
Right. Yeah. I wouldn't recommend anybody that I didn't trust. So there's that aspect.
That's very evident. Yeah.
So we get down to it, and the business, we put all of our money into the business at around December of last year. They come down, they help us find a location. Drove all over South Texas trying to find a location.
Wow.
So that was complicated and difficult. We didn't find anything. The guy, the owner of the company, left, and he said, we didn't find anything, but keep looking. Let us know if you find anything. So at different locations I'd send them. Yours one of them. Nope. Didn't like them. And so there were a couple that I think he wanted me in Robstown, and And no offense to Robstown, it just wasn't the place we wanted to be
Yeah.
first. And so we ended up. I came back to this place 3 or 4 times. I don't know how many times I called you guys before.
Yeah, you kept showing it.
Yeah.
I was like, is this dude tire kicking or what?
Yeah, exactly.
But we knew you were going. It was corporate. We knew
Yeah.
you're dealing with corporate. It's a franchise.
Right. Yep. So we had to sell them on the fact that the school's right across the street. You got a brand new building, or growing community. And
it's a brand new building.
A brand new building. We get to
Beautiful
do whatever
court
we want with it.
Beautiful courtyard.
Yep. Beautiful courtyard right on the corner. These guys, for now, can't escape without going past us.
It's true. You got thousands of people leaving every day on this one corner.
So
huge neighborhood behind us. It's true.
What finally sold them was the growth plan, the development plan for the London area, and that's when they said, "Oh, okay, well, see what you can do as far as negotiating with the landowner or the property owner, and let us know." So they kind of left me on my own at that point. They said, "You go for it. We don't necessarily approve, but if you can make it happen, go for it.
Do it. Make it happen."
So that's what we did. And here we are. So we, like you said, have been in business for 6 months now. I wanted to hit on the franchise part of it.
Why franchise versus just doing private label? Most people would take that and say, I don't want to pay the franchise fee. Forget about it. I'll do private label. I'll make my own brand. I'll go buy the ice. So why didn't you do that?
So like I said, I sat out there and watched the other store do what they do, and I know that there were aspects of that business going on in the back that I couldn't figure out on my own in the next 2 years. If I tried to go start my own money from scratch and try to develop something, it would be years before it was profitable.
Could likely burn through it,
and it'd likely burn through it, or just go broke and there's still no business.
That's good wisdom there.
Yeah, so I said,
that is good wisdom.
These guys have a tried and true process. They have 215 stores. I think it was 209 at that time. So
Wow.
I think we're up to 217 today. I have to look at that, but so first one in South Texas. That was another thing. There's another appeal is we're the only ones in all of the South Texas area. I think they're working on 2 in Houston right now, but we still the territory is ours for now.
I love it.
And the idea behind that is it stays ours. So we got to build.
Yeah, you got to put more in.
Yep, we got to build more. We got to get more in before somebody else comes in, and we have to split Corpus Christi. And so we'd prefer to have all of Corpus Christi and south of Houston.
Yeah.
So
I got another location coming up on the island if you're interested.
yeah. Okay.
It's a good spot.
It might be
Padre Island. Here it comes.
Yeah. But yeah, so there are, and once they came and trained us, I said, wow, I was that little
shot in the arm.
It was interesting how I learned that I surely wouldn't have been able to, the little tiny secrets that they teach you that you would have never known.
That only years of experience.
Yeah, and if y'all pay me enough, I can tell you them. You get like $20,000 for a franchise. No, I'm kidding. I can tell you the secrets.
Yeah, but I mean, franchising. What is the franchising fee for Pelicans?
It's $25,000 actually.
It's really not that much.
Yeah. Nope.
It's probably one of the lower end entry fees for franchising.
Yeah. Yeah. I looked into Chick-fil-A. They didn't want me.
Oh, you don't fit the caliber of Chick-fil-A like I don't fit the caliber of Chick-fil-A. They raise up a very, very specific type of person that they want to take a store.
They do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I don't fit that category.
we applied for it, and they within 10 minutes, I think they emailed me back saying, "Nope, no, thank you." That was funny.
That is funny.
It was kind of a I didn't
why not?
see myself running a Chick-fil-A anyway. But.
Well, I could see myself in all that profit margin.
Well, for sure, yeah.
I could see that.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So franchising made sense to you. Do you think that was in part from your road already? I mean, you're an engineer, right? Mechanical engineer, and engineers are kind of on the their brains think very differently. Yeah. I wasn't going to say spectrum, but I did say, I thought in my head I said spectrum. And I don't mean that negatively. I work with engineers. I sat with an hour-long meeting today with an engineer. Uh-huh. I work with engineers every week. And so I thank God for engineers.
Yeah.
But there's times I don't thank God for engineers. I'm like, these people drive me nuts.
Yeah.
And so, but we need them. But so what I'm saying is that it's the thought process that engineers typically go. Yes. They have a very methodical, and you need
strategic.
To be.
Yeah.
And you need to be. Because if you don't, our society doesn't run properly.
Right.
It just doesn't.
And in my case, we, the pilots are counting on us to get things right.
It needs to be perfect.
The crew for the aircraft, and
it needs to be dead on.
Yeah.
So, do you think that influenced your reasoning to go with a franchise?
Yeah, part of it was that I liked my full-time job. I didn't want to leave it, and I didn't want to go devote all my time to building a business.
Well, that would have sank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
You would have needed a lot of reserves.
Yes.
To wait for that one business to pick up enough to cover your nut.
Yeah. And
so that was smart.
3 kids at that point, there's no way I could risk that. Not that this wasn't a risk, but
well, it was a risk, but it was calculated.
Yes. Yeah. Methodical, strategic, just like we said. Yeah.
Which is very important.
Yeah.
Which when we talk about college, and a lot of guys say, forget college, just jump right into business, you'll figure it all out on the way. Mm-hmm. You know, that's okay for solo entrepreneurs. That's okay for guys that they don't have a huge startup cost. Right. They're right in the beginning, right? No. But when you go to venture into something bigger, it needs to be methodical, calculated, thought process. You need to know that you've counted the costs.
Right.
You're about to jump into something that's going to eat your lunch very, very quickly.
It can. Yes.
And you could be out on the street.
Yep.
Which is real.
Yep.
Right? And so do you think that influenced your thought process? Your experience going through college and, putting in all the time, you switched majors, you didn't give up, you didn't quit, but you devoted yourself to a certain process of learning, which then influences you in every decision, really.
Yeah, and that's where I came, we talk about all the different types of guys that, some guys go and they open up a box of something to assemble and they'll throw away the directions. Mm-hmm. Well, I used to do that until I became the guy that writes those directions for the Army. So now,
isn't that interesting?
And so now I have a different mind or thought process behind everything I do. So I think that I developed that in my job and being able to, execute that plan that we thought out the last 2 years, 3 years, and so everything so far has been pretty successful.
Does your wife have an entrepreneurial kind of free thinking mind?
Not so much. She's very risk averse, incredibly risk averse, very conservative. Yeah. So that's another that helps because
it balances.
I'm here, she's there.
Creates a balance.
We're going back and forth, so it does create balance, and she keeps me mostly level-headed.
Well, especially if she's going to be putting time in.
Yes.
Then she should have something to say about it.
And she does. She should.
She says, this is my choice.
Yeah.
I'm choosing to be here. If we want this to work,
yeah.
You want my time. Yeah. I want to make sure that it's going to be worth it.
Yeah.
And what does worth it look like?
Worth it looks like.
How do you know after 2 years? How do you know if it's worth it?
Well, that's part of
that's a family question. That's
what I was getting at.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so.
What's your vision look like?
There's a fine line, or not a fine line. I guess it's hard to weigh where, what we want, our goals for our kids. Obviously that's the whole point.
Trajectory
of all
for your
of
children.
Is
Yes,
to be able
absolutely.
To set them up well, but at the same time, making sure that we can spend enough time with them so that they know how to use those assets or resources when they get there, and definitely enjoy the time with them while they're little. So I
know you're involved with baseball.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, you're very involved with your boys with baseball. Does your daughter play softball?
She used to. She got hit really hard one time,
and she's like, "Daddy, please don't make me go back."
Yeah.
Okay, sweetheart.
Yeah, I didn't make her. I said, "I'm not going to make y'all do anything you don't want to do." What I tell them is, you can join any sport, any extracurricular you want, but you can't quit. So they know that. They know that if they go get involved with football, they're going to have to play out the whole season. If they go get with baseball, they're going to have to play out the whole season.
Yeah.
And my daughter did. She, even after she got hit, she says, you could tell she was struggling, but she played out the whole season. So super proud of her for that.
That's a big deal. Well, you're teaching how to overcome adversity.
Yes.
Like the challenge of because of our own self.
Yeah. And so a lot of that comes from, when I was in middle school, and all my friends will tell you, I quit everything. I'd start baseball, I'd quit. I don't want to be doing that anymore.
Interesting.
Football, I don't want to do that anymore. My mom didn't make me. No, she was, bless her heart, she was, dying, to be honest. And she would rather just sit there and lay down and sleep than to get up and take me to school. So I didn't have to go to school. Yeah. And that was part of the reason I ended up moving to Odom, because they came after her for truancy. So she said, "All right, we gotta do something.
Go
here.
Grandma.
Yeah,
go Grandpa.
So go hang out with Grandma and Grandpa," which was life changing.
The best thing for you at that point.
Most definitely. That's where I met my wife in high school. There, I was a sophomore. But had I not moved out there, I don't know. Yeah, there's no telling. So that was definitely the big step in my life that changed everything.
So your wife, her name?
Elizabeth.
So Elizabeth's willing to journey with you.
Yes.
It's a journey.
Yeah.
You guys are going through a journey. You guys have a vision for your family. You've mapped out for your children what you want to see for their lives and how you want to raise them. You decided to homeschool your kids.
Yes.
That's a big deal.
Yes, that was a big deal.
I mean, and that means your wife is homeschooling them.
Yes.
And putting in, and so it's so you guys already live a very intentional life.
Yes.
Mapped out.
Yep.
You don't just decide, I'm gonna homeschool my kids.
No.
Because I don't want them getting for truancy.
Yeah, no, that wasn't it.
So they'll always just be me. They'll be
Yeah.
fine. Nobody will call on us.
Right.
No, it's so much more than that. Like you're actually saying, I'm mapping our life out as a family. As you and Elizabeth are mapping your life out together, saying this is what we want to see for our children, because it'll impact us when we're in our 60s, 70s, with our grandchildren.
Right.
How you raise your own children now impacts
Exactly.
with your grandchildren how they'll relate to you.
Yep.
Think about it. You were in many respects raised by your grandparents.
Yes. Yeah.
So you see, like, so the value you placed on your own grandparents is actually pretty high as parents.
And my grandpa was he was a hard worker. I always tell the story. I caught him on his 80th birthday. We went to go see him, and I walked back to the back where the corrals for the cows and the goats were. And, it had been raining a lot, so everything was muddy, and he was climbing the fence. I said, "Grandpa, what are you doing?" He said, "Well, I didn't want to walk through the water in the mud, so I'll just climb the fence." But he's
been doing that for 40 years.
He was an ox.
50 years.
He died at 93.
Oh wow.
But yeah, up to 90 or so, man. He was. I wouldn't mess with him either. He
Still
kicked my
trucking,
butt.
still going.
Yeah.
I love that.
So, but you didn't disappoint him. He never really pushed higher education. He didn't say you're going to go to college.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing he did is when I came home from school, he never let me go straight to helping him in the fields or working whatever animals he was working with. He always told me, no, go in and do your homework.
Get it done.
And just do the work. So, like I said, he was not necessarily telling me higher education was the way, but he wanted me to be successful in what I was doing at that time.
Right
And
where
so,
you are, right here, right now.
yes.
Do the work, son, so
Yep.
you can go out and enjoy afterwards.
And to be honest, had he not made me go do that, I probably would have.
Well, how would you have ever,
classes too?
how would you ever gotten through college with all the homework?
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, I didn't.
If
in high
that wasn't
school-
ingrained in you early on, how would you really have?
Yeah, well, it wasn't that early. It was not till high school that I realized that I probably didn't need to do my homework. I was one of those, I'm gonna say jerks that they sit in class and they goof off for a little bit and then they go home or they go take the test and they do well. So in high school I could do that, and I found out real quick in college I couldn't do that.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, didn't get away with it anymore.
So you guys have made a decision. You've started Pelicans. You've got plans for other locations. It's obviously the first 6 months are doing well.
Yes, I would say we're a success so far. Yeah.
And you've done, so back to that point, you have a mobile location.
Yes, yeah, we got the Pelibus.
Pelibus. So you've got them at the ball fields. You've got them at the fields for games. And
Everywhere, every day. It's pretty much Tuesday through Friday, or Sunday rather. Tuesday through Sunday, we're doing something somewhere.
I love that.
For the rest of October, at least for now, and
yes.
hopefully November is the same way.
This is great. I mean, it really is great. What does success look like to you? How do you know you've made it a success for your family? What does that look like?
I want to be able to look back in 10, 20 years and at my grandkids and see them coming up, with successful parents and with God. Most definitely as in the church and with a relationship with God. And if they don't have that, then I failed. That's how I define success for them. Same thing for my kids, right? I mean, you keep your kids in the church, you keep them active, and you pray with them, you talk to them about it, read the Bible with them.
Yeah.
To me, that's my success. If I don't care if they go to college. To be honest, they're contributing to their communities when they're adults, and then I've succeeded.
Yeah, and they're able to raise themselves in a way of like anything. So our children are a product of their environment, right?
Right.
So if they see mom and dad taking risks, but not just quitting when it gets really hard, they dig in deeper, they put in the work, but they put in the energy. There's joy. They don't lose their joy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like mom and dad are working hard, but they're still having fun with us.
Yeah, that's the hard part sometimes.
Yeah, but I saw that though. I said there was a big event. I think it was a farmer's market over at the plaza one of these Sundays, and that was in the evening time, and my kids love to go out and hang out at Pelicans. They love to hang out. My two little ones just love to go hang out over there because they love to play with your kids, and which has been very special. And they're like, hey, can we have a snowball fight?
Oh, yes.
Right? They want to have a snowball fight. And I'm like, a snowball? So we get back in the car and we're leaving. They're like, Daddy, Mr. Pelican said we can have a snowball fight. We can have a snowball fight. I'm like, a snowball fight? How you can have a snowball fight? It's the middle of summer, right?
It's July. Yeah.
And they're like, no, Daddy. He said just come back and they'll have a snowball fight. So I think I texted you. I said, hey, did you actually say that? Is this or my boy putting me up to this? He said, no. Come on back. The kids, I'll make them snowballs and they can go have a snowball fight.
Yeah.
The fact that and you're in the middle of trying to run the store and you got people coming and going. But the point is that you take the time with them.
Yeah.
Now that is what they'll remember.
Right.
They'll remember that you didn't ignore them. Now they saw that you were working, but then you took time for that, for fun.
Yeah.
So when you take time for fun, they realize that's the memory.
Of course.
That's the experience. They're like, oh, this is actually enjoyable.
Yeah.
We had fun. We loved it.
Yeah. And that's what Pelicans is about. We want to make an experience. That's why we started the whole writing on the wall thing. And we want it to be an experience. We don't want to just go in, get your sugary treat and leave. It's supposed to be an experience.
Yeah.
So, sometimes when we're not overly busy, we'll get snowballs and just throw them at the kids. Throw them at their feet or something until they, they get comfortable.
Yeah.
And then, give them a whole snowball, let them go throw it at Dad, and just make it an experience so that they want to come back. They're going to remember that.
They will remember that.
Yeah.
It's creating memories. So you're in the creating memories business.
Oh yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
It is.
And I think but we're also in that business with our families too.
Yes.
We want to create good memories, and they don't even have to cost us anything.
Yeah.
There's a number of things we can do that are free.
Yeah. On that note, we've been hustle and bustle every day for the last month. So we said, you know what, I could see them getting frustrated and kind of acting out. So I said, I'm going to call in on Monday. I called my boss and said, hey, I'm not coming in today. That meeting at 10 o'clock, somebody else is going to have to cover. And I'm going to take my kids out. So we just drove out to San Antonio, went to the Natural Bridge Cavern, spent the whole day with them.
Yeah.
Didn't tell them no too many times.
Yeah, I get that.
Just spend good quality time. I left my phone, in the car and didn't bother answering any phone calls at the time. But that's I needed it just as much as they did.
You need an unplugged moment.
Yeah. Oh man.
I think that's part of for entrepreneurs and entrepreneurial families. It's so important that we have unplugged times.
Yeah. We have.
We need it, and our kids need it, and our kids need it too.
Yeah.
Because think about it. If you say, well, Dad's an entrepreneur, Mom's an entrepreneur. No, that means your family has a business.
It's an entrepreneur family.
It's an entrepreneurial family because that means everybody kind of feels it.
Yeah.
We feel the high, we feel the low. Yep. We feel the give, we feel the take.
Yep.
We feel all of it. And so it's important that we take time to celebrate. We take time to share good news, not just the bad news. Like we're in it together.
Yep.
It's so important.
And the hard part for me is trying to keep my grace during times when we were working. I tell them, I said, just because I'm on my phone doesn't mean I'm scrolling through Facebook. I'm probably sending checks out to somebody who let us, have our event there. Or there's a lot of things I do from my phone that are business.
It's work related, yeah.
And they've kind of come to realize that. But at the same time, I don't want them to look and say, oh, he's on his phone, leave him alone. I want them to be able to address me and say, hey, Dad, can you come play? Can you just throw the ball? So I try to watch myself, my reactions, the grace there that I don't. Oh, no, hold on. Let me finish. Just
because
be easy on them.
That's really interesting because in the end, it's how our children, young or older children, will remember how we made them feel.
Yes.
And that's
how you made them feel, not how you
what you said.
Yeah, what you said.
It's not what you said. It's it's how you make them feel. Right. And so how I make my children feel, the old adult children and my baby children, my young ones. So I think that's a big part of the Bible. That's a big part of teaching our children about who God is. Right. God is the loving Father. He's our Abba. He's our daddy, right? And so we as men, as husbands, as fathers, we get the opportunity to share with everyone else around us, demonstrate who God is. Yeah. Why? Because our children look at us as a father. And we try constantly saying the Bible says God is our Father. Well, we can say, well, I didn't have a great experience with a father. Okay, we get that. Yeah. But now you are a daddy. Right. You are a father. Yeah. What are you doing for your own children? Yeah. We can't continue to claim, I didn't have a great experience with my dad. So I'm not going to be a good experience for my children. Well, what are you doing? Generational curses?
Yeah.
What are you repeating generationally?
Yeah, it would be easy to just say, oh, well, that's an excuse.
Just who I am.
I didn't have a dad, so I'm not,
Just what I am.
Yeah.
And that doesn't take away from the fact of whatever we experienced was negative maybe in that, or in the positives, goods and the bads.
Yeah.
But I think that a success is living it out
Right.
for our kids and demonstrating it out for our kids. Life is not just, what is it, gummy bears and Skittles and
rainbows and butterflies.
It's just really not.
Yeah.
Though we celebrate when we see a rainbow.
Yeah.
I was going through something the other day. I was just like so totally stressed out. And I was talking to somebody on the phone. And I wasn't stressed at them. I think I was just venting. And I'm like, oh, look, a rainbow. Oh,
Changes everything.
look at that, a rainbow.
Yeah.
And I promise you, it was just like that. I totally squirreled right in the middle of it. I was just like, oh, man, God's promises.
Yep.
I was just reminded of his promises. His covenant with his covenant with Noah.
Yep.
His covenant on the land. I will not flood the earth again.
Yep.
And I'm like, man, the rain will stop. And I'm like, okay. I think that there, if we can demonstrate that to our children amongst being active and productive and trying to accomplish something for the goal, the vision.
Yeah. That's the goal.
That's it right there. Yeah. It's the daily goal.
Yes. Yep.
And it's possible. I see you doing it. Man, I feel like you're doing it at times.
Appreciate it.
But I see you doing it as an outsider.
It's hard to feel that way too. It's hard to feel like you're doing a good job. I'm sure you've faced that. Sometimes
absolutely.
There's no way that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, but you see it. You always see it later. I always see it later. I see how they interact with the community, with other adults, other kids. They're kind. They're generous. Well, some of them, but you see that. And
but
it's
they're
like, okay,
they're developing the traits because they're traits.
Stop and think. Okay, maybe I did convey that well. So,
absolutely. Yeah. Well, because in the end, ultimately, no matter, as an entrepreneurial family, you're demonstrating something that you are serving you're providing a community with a service.
Yeah.
We get paid for it.
Right.
So kids, we really want it to be a really good service so we can get paid well and continue to do well, because that's how we're rewarded in our society.
Yeah.
If it's a good service, people will frequent it and they will continue to support it. Yeah. If it's not, they will stop. I remind my team that all the time. Look, if our service sucks, we go out of business. Yeah. Please, it needs to be really good service.
Right.
It's just that simple.
And that's what I tell when I interview. I said, look, we don't have our product and our service. There's not one that's more important than the other. And we want the experience. We want you to be kind and generous, same way we think we are. We try to be with all of our customers. There's difficult ones. We have to handle them accordingly, but still with grace.
Everybody's got that.
Yes.
And with a smile.
Yes, right. Yes. Yeah. So
no, sir, I can't give you a ginormous thing for the same price as a small. I can't do it.
Yeah.
Yes, sir, we did mess that up. I can remake you another one. Yeah. It'll cost me X cent to make you a new one so you can walk out of here with a smile.
Right. Yep.
They used to say, like, what's more expensive? Not replacing the burger that the guy screwed up, or telling him just to deal with it.
Yeah.
What's more expensive?
That person's never coming back.
Guy's never coming back, and he's telling everybody else not to go back there because they messed up his order.
Yep. There's no telling how many people have come in and they walk out and they drop their Snowball outside. It's like, I won't advertise this, but if you come back and I'm not going to make you pay for another Snowball.
Yeah, that's grace.
Yes.
And then they're like, let's go back over there.
Right.
Let's go back over there next time. Let's go back over there.
Or the gummies. We have gummies that we put on top of the Snowballs. And it's a good percentage of the time that those gummies are going to fall off. And we tell them, hey, watch out, that butterfly likes to fly away. And so they'll kind of grab it, but they're still going to drop them. So mom will look up and I'll say, come on, here you go.
Yeah.
Don't worry about that. Yeah.
Right. Because in the end, that's why you're going to do well. Generosity always pays off. Yeah. It pays dividends. Yes. Generosity pays dividends. Yeah. So that's good. So you're on a good journey.
I think so.
You and your family are on a great journey.
Yeah.
And to do it with grace is, I think, the goal. If we can do it with grace, show grace to one another. First and foremost, our families, our wives, husbands, our children need the grace first.
Yeah. And they're watching.
They're experiencing it.
They're in it.
This is going to be part of their life experience.
Yeah.
They are going to look back and say, this is what we did as a family.
Yep.
Isn't that wild?
It is.
And eventually it'll morph into something else.
Yep.
It'll take a different shape.
And so I don't know if I mentioned it before, but we also used to have a candle company. And that was our introduction to the markets and being around all these crowds and stuff. We used to go out and just sell candles, and my daughter was our best saleswoman. She would sell it. And hey, this is this scent, try that. No, you don't like that type. Okay, try this. And man, she was good. And I'd let her do it because I wasn't any good at it. I'm not a salesman. So
not that.
Yeah, not like that's all women stuff. I mean, I don't know. My wife wanted to do it. I said, okay, let's do it.
Do it.
But we did okay with it.
And that set you up for this.
Yes, yeah. And some of those lessons learned, dealing with taxes, dealing with or bookkeeping, stuff like that I would have never known how to do had I not done that little business before. Yeah. And so we might go back to that once we get out of the hustle and bustle of the Pelicans. But for now, we got it on hold.
Yeah, I love that though.
But that was truly a good experience for our kids, for us to learn to get our feet wet.
That sounds like a great idea as a family business. People are like, they might be listening saying, well, how do I get started in something like this? I don't have $25,000 or, I don't know if I'm really ready for that big commitment. Those are great home-based businesses that you operate out of the home. Mm-hmm. That's a great idea. And it's a good way to get your family involved. If you've got a child, a son or a daughter that's very entrepreneurial, mm-hmm. do not stifle that.
Right.
Add some wind to that.
Yep.
Fan that flame.
Yes,
because it could pay dividends for them. That could be their pathway, is entrepreneurial pathway. Yeah. Right? And it could start with something really small as a resale business. Yeah. You go buy a bunch of stuff from Sam's and go resell it at the school. Yeah. And then or at the neighborhood at the end of the street, or lemonade stand. That's why we all like lemonade stand. Yeah. Why do most people stop at lemonade stand and give the kid $20?
Kids there, yeah.
And they stop and give them here $10, $5. Why? Because they're trying to fan the flame of entrepreneurialism.
Yep, and that you mentioned that. So when we were doing candles, my sons had their Pokemon cards. My daughter had little earrings that she made out of clay, and I was made and baked at the same time. Yeah, she baked out of clay.
Yes.
And, so then she loved that. Somebody would come and give her $10 for something that had a $5 price tag on it. She said, oh well, okay. I guess they were worth 10. Maybe I should raise my prices. No.
5 is good.
Don't do that. 5 is good.
Just accept the 10.
Yeah. So that was always fun, seeing their eyes light up. And even just yesterday, we were doing an event at a soccer tournament or a soccer game, and somebody came in, bought the whole team snowballs. It turned out to be $50 or something. And he gave us $100, and my daughter or one of my employees tried to give the money back, and he said, "No, y'all keep it." It was like $50 tip. I said, "Oh man, okay, sweet. Y'all enjoy that."
I love that.
And of course, their eyes lit up, made their day, and that's the giving spirit that that guy, the grace that he had and generosity. And so I've made sure I message.
Generosity is contagious.
It is, yeah. And so, people know how you feel when you give, you remember how it felt.
Yes.
Or when you receive, you remember how it felt. So
yes.
You're apt to give more. And
that's right.
Yeah, I really enjoy it
because it's how we felt.
Yes.
And we want more feelings like that.
To that, yeah.
We want more good experiences like that.
Right. Yeah.
And if we can help share that with other people, because you're selling an experience.
Right.
It's pretty wild, isn't it?
Yeah. It was great. Yeah, I do enjoy it. I tell my boss all the time, I have a lot more fun out there after work
and then here at work. But this pays the bills.
I'm joking. Yes, I really do.
This pays the bills,
job.
and I'm committed. Yeah,
it's a fun job.
Landing planes is very important to me. Landing planes safely is very important to me.
Yes,
I love that. Yeah. Well, Andrew, thank you for being here today.
Of course.
Thank
you.
I know you've been listening for a while, and I'm grateful you've been kind of following our journey of Kingdom Heirs.
Yeah. It's grown fast.
It has.
It's awesome. Yeah.
It's doing well. We're really thankful for what we've been able to just stay committed to what we're doing.
Right.
And really that's what we've hit a year and nearly 50 episodes, I think. Michaela, is that correct? I think that's about correct.
Yeah.
To do this 50 times is a lot.
Yeah.
But I enjoy it.
The other day I felt like it was just a couple of weeks ago I looked and you had maybe 3,000 followers, something. And then I looked the other day when I messaged you, I said, oh man, 17,000? That's awesome.
It's growing.
Because that's the way it works, right? The exponential.
Correct.
The branches go out and they tell them and they tell them and they,
Correct.
That's awesome.
So we're
so cool.
I just want to remain faithful in this. Yeah. And faith family, I really want to be able to talk about faith family business. Yeah. And really, like we talk a lot about family, because family and business are tied together.
Yeah.
And faith wraps, it's like the 3 braided cord. Yeah. If not, they all go together.
Trouble.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Because then we got all our priorities out of whack. Yes. So Thanks for being here.
Yeah,
Really appreciate you. I'm thankful you joined us. You locked up arms with us at London Square Plaza. I mean, that's a big deal for us. So thank you for being here. You've brought a lot of, I think, excitement to the plaza. Yeah. Interesting enough. Who would have thought a Snowball would do that?
But a bunch of sugar, right?
Well, yeah. Okay, now I get that.
And everything else.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Hey guys, if you liked what you heard today, please like, subscribe, and ring the bell. Hit us in the comments down below. If you've got something for a question for Andrew, please share that and write it down. We'd love to connect with you guys. Thank you again. We'll see you next time, and God bless you guys.